Welcome to the SVG-TV News for today, Tuesday, March 23rd. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. Just over 10,000 Vincentians have been vaccinated since the rollout of the vaccination campaign more than a month ago. The vaccination campaign team has had an outreach in almost every constituency. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Gerald Thompson, along with other members of the vaccination team, were in Beckway today conducting an educational campaign with residents. He told our news team that he is satisfied with the overall number of people vaccinated thus far, noting that there was a decline in persons coming forward to take the jab after negative reports were publicized about the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is being administered here.
I'm actually quite happy. I think that around the world, there are many countries that have not as yet started vaccination at all. They haven't given a single dose of vaccine. We are approaching 9 going on to 10,000, which would be almost 10% of our population, and would be getting close to 15% of our target in terms of the targeted adult population. And I'm happy about that.
Dr. Thompson said that people still have concerns about the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is why he's giving most of his time to explain, answer questions, and debunk myths about the vaccine. The response, he said, has been encouraging.
Speaking to a lot of persons and I'm really happy that far more persons, based on the public outreach and the education, understand that a lot of the myths and the doubts, and I would say also the lies of the anti-vaxxers, that they understand that these things are not true, and their life is far more important, that they should take the necessary steps and vaccinate quickly, the vaccine so quickly and so forth. And when you answer these questions in an honest way, I think people begin to understand. And when people also start to understand what is at risk for them in terms of their health, they weigh things up that, boy, I will stand a much, much better chance with the vaccine than trying to become friends with the virus.
The infectious disease specialist, who is also a member of the COVID-19 task force here in SVG, said that one of the main questions being asked is if there is a chip in the vaccine.
In each vial, there are 10 doses. What does that mean? Does it mean there are 10 chips in a vial? Does it mean the nurse has to, with the syringe, look at the vial and carefully try to extract a chip, each chip in each dose? Clearly, this is ridiculous. When you ask about it, then you tend to try to fool people by saying it's a liquid chip. There's no such thing. And this is one of the things that have been made up by the anti-vaxxers just to create some doubt. I think when people realize it, some may be a little ashamed that the fact that they did believe it initially.
Several church leaders here in SVG said while they are not against the COVID-19 vaccine, they will not be forcing members to get vaccinated. Speaking to SVG-TV News via telephone, Bishop Stephen Oliver of the Pentecostal Church, Dermot Batiste, president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and Monsignor Michael Stewart of the Roman Catholic Church said they have, however, been doing their part to educate persons about the vaccine so they can make their own decision on whether to take the jab.
Well, as far as the Seventh-day Adventist Church is concerned, we don't really have a problem. I think when it comes to the vaccine, it's all in the best interest of the health and safety of the country. What we do not really want is to impose it on any member so that we consider it to be a matter of conscience, and we are in the process of doing as much education as we possibly can. But as far as I am concerned, I will take the vaccine, and I would encourage as many of my congregants as far as possible to take it as well.
We have been trying to encourage as far as possible persons to do what is required and not to wait until a crisis comes.
Our view is basically it's people's personal choice. All we can do as an organization is give people the information, and we want them to make the right decision. Last Wednesday, we had something like a seminar where all our people were on, and we spoke about it and gave people the information.
At the wreath-laying ceremony of national hero Joseph Chatelier on March 14th, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves shared that he was disappointed in the church for not urging members to take the COVID-19 vaccine. He had made a call for religious leaders to lead by example. St. Vincent and the Grenadines aims to vaccinate at least 70,000 Vincentians over the next 7 months. So far, just over 10,000 Vincentians have taken the jab thus far, as the vaccination drive continues nationwide. St. Vincent and the Grenadines recorded no new positive cases of COVID-19 from 129 samples collected on Sunday. Also, no new recoveries were reported, leaving the total number of recoveries at 1,523. 167 cases remain active and 10 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,700 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is being urged to consistently use masks, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in SVG. A helicopter from the French Civil Security of Martinique is now in the state to support scientists monitoring the La Soufrière volcano in installing new equipment and collecting samples from the new lava dome for the next 2 days. The volcano continues to erupt effusively, and close monitoring is being done to see if lava being spewed is changing, which would determine whether there will be an explosive eruption. Larissa Pugsley-Kidd tells us more in this report.
Extensive work at La Soufrière volcano will be done over the next 2 days with the help of the French Sécurité Civile helicopter, which today airlifted the monitoring team to the summit. It is expected that a multi-gas unit and other important equipment to assist with the monitoring will be installed at the summit. The team of scientists are hopeful that the weather condition will allow them to collect samples from the new lava dome. Lead scientist Dr. Richard Robertson said that the helicopter makes it easier for the team to do their work safely.
So usually when you have the helicopter support, you use it for doing things closer in that are perhaps more dangerous, and therefore we have the means for getting people in and out quickly. On clear days, on good days, we could get some additional equipment in, collect some more samples, and do some more maintenance work on some.
The helicopter leaves on Thursday. Dr. Robertson said that they need to know if there are any changes to the lava being spewed from the new dome, which would help them predict if there will be an explosive eruption.
If it happens, it will be one indication of potentially new material, new magma coming through, fresher magma, larger magma, which would be one indication of potentially going explosive. Now, we haven't seen any changes in these GPS stations, but we keep monitoring them. We keep trying to put in more stations that we could get more precise information of the shape of the mountain, so that if it does change, we will detect that change.
After a 1-month lapse, the UII scientists were able to take measurements last Friday, March 19th, using a drone survey. The new measurements show that the lava dome has increased its growth rate, which according to Dr. Robertson, continues to fluctuate, and as such, the new dome would take months to reach the crater rim.
That might take less time because the lower lip of the dome is around the Larikai area at the top, and that's just about around 100 meters. So right now it's higher than that, but the height of it is away from that, quite some distance away, a couple of 100 meters from that. So it will take less time to get that lower bit. But again, that's probably going to be months.
The lead scientist, who is a geologist by profession, said that earthquakes coming from the volcano continue to be closely monitored. As with regards to the present danger of the gases emitting from the new lava dome, Dr. Robertson said that there have been no complaints from persons being affected by the sulfur gases.
But if you go to the summit, especially in the areas you see from below where it's affecting the vegetation, yes, you could be in harm. So that's why we tell people to stay away from the summit. We don't have any reports of anybody being affected in any adverse way on the lower flanks. We do hear that from time to time.
To also assist with the monitoring of the volcano, campaign-style GPS were installed at different locations, which will provide signals to the various stations if any changes are taking place at the volcano. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
The true value of LIAT will be realized when air travel returns to normal. So says President of the SVG LIAT Union, Jeremiah Howard, who told SVG-TV News in a telephone interview that it's closing in on a year since the regional airline collapsed, and when the COVID-19 protocols are relaxed, there will be an influx of travel to and within the Caribbean, which will require the service of LIAT.
When the skies open back up, and I could tell you from listening to other airline personnel, it's going to be bumper traffic coming to the Caribbean, maybe at least by summer. I understand like the international airlines are full coming into the Caribbean. So, you know, as I said, there's a lot of people waiting to travel, and when that season really comes, we'll really understand the true value of LIAT in terms of how governments would react in a time of crisis. I mean, this is the pandemic, and when you think you'll be more, you know, you'd see a more we talking about litigation, so it's unfortunate.
In SVG, 39 staff members of the airline lost their jobs, and Howard said that it is unfortunate that after constant discussions with the shareholder governments, including SVG, workers are left hanging, noting that the union is still unable to meet with Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who is now saying that there is no legal obligations to pay them severance.
It's unfortunate that we can't simply sit down, as we have been doing like for the last maybe like 10 years, engaging each other on the airline, and then now the pandemic occurred, which is none of us' fault. All of a sudden now we disengage. That's unfortunate, and by extension, it doesn't sit well for workers, and by extension, other unions in the Caribbean. But if you just all of a sudden disengage, stop speaking to the unions and the staff that you were speaking to over 10 years, that cannot help the situation. It cannot help the situation. It actually, it comes over to dismissive and lack some form of care and really respect for person's dignity and pride.
Howard said LIAT workers here in SVG are not looking to take legal action, as is being done in the class action taken by former LIAT pilots in Barbados against the Antigua government.
It's not helpful either, because what is going to happen is going to further the divide. Mind you, this union does not support that action by those set of pilots in Barbados. There's a group of pilots that is going the litigation route. We do not support that action at this time.
With preparations being made for the reopening of schools on April 12th, there have been mixed reviews on the success of online teaching for secondary school students across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As part of measures to stem the spread of COVID-19 in SVG and to protect the school population, the authorities took the decision to close schools for face-to-face teaching and have students and teachers engage in online teaching and learning, or e-learning. In telephone interviews with SVG-TV News, the principals of several secondary schools shared their findings following the recently held 3-day professional development session hosted by the Ministry of Education from March 17th to the 19th.
The teachers are reporting that they were able to do successful assessments and that we have got fairly good attendance.
There were a few forms where you had maximum attendance, but the majority of forms you had that problem with attendance.
For some students, it worked very well, but we had quite a few problems with truancy. Quite a number of our students were not regular. There we have a few who probably did not log on at all.
The majority of the students who were there were able to understand and follow what was happening.
Some students, in fact, quarter of the students, and those will be students from the, I would say, the top classes, they were always online. Even the parents would try their best to get them online every day, and some of the parents would have been there with them, and they did very well. There was another 55% of them. They would be on now, then off again. They were not consistent.
When asked about the major challenges they faced during the online teaching, the principals raised several different issues, including truancy and a lack of support from parents.
We would call the parents, they would go back, and then reach an improvement. After 2 weeks, they fall off again. We reached the point where we actually called in parents who didn't have access to internet, and from the school we decided to give them $25 that they can go to Digicel, where they can buy one of those SIM cards, the data that can be online. I remember there was another 20% who never logged on, even though they had access to the...
Well, our major issue was truancy. There will be a level of touching up, yes, for some students, because some students prefer face-to-face than online. Some students would have been unable to grasp some concepts via online.
The internet proved sometimes quite unreliable, and students were also impacted by using Microsoft Teams. But the main thing would have been truancy in a lot of cases.
The online instruction, it could have been better if we had gotten more cooperation from the parents. A lot of the students were not on lockdown, were not coming to class online. And some of them would have been because of accessibility problem, but the majority of them, they just didn't come on, despite numerous calls to parents.
Those students whose parents go out to work and are not so interested in school have a little bit more of a challenge because no adult supervision is there to push them along. There are, of course, a small minority who have challenges with electricity and internet still, despite the fact that we've been working on trying to get them signed up to various programs. Perhaps people who have got a lot of brothers and sisters in the house, finding quiet places to do their studying, etc.
The effectiveness of the last 3 months of online teaching will determine the ease of transition back to face-to-face instruction. For some students who refused to log on for classes or who were unable to do so for one reason or another, a tough road lies ahead. Minister of Education Curtis King foresees a challenge with transportation when school reopens. On Sunday's Viewpoint program on SVG-TV, Minister King said that though the government provided transportation to students last year due to the fluid COVID-19 situation, some students preferred to take the regular public transportation. The Education Minister said the safety of all students is a priority for the ministry and they will be doing their part to ensure this is maintained.
To take students to school. But I must say that based on last year's experience, not a lot of the students are actually taking the designated school buses. They prefer to go on the regular bus. And that is a challenge. We are also, as a country, through the Ministry of Health also, developing the protocols for the minibus operation. And I'm not going to say anything before the decisions are made, but those two are also updating, so that should assist.
A teacher at the Sinclair Dakin Secondary School, Vanrick Williams, agrees that transportation to get students safely to and from school would be challenging when school reopens for face-to-face learning.
Transportation system would be the risk associated with transporting students to and from schools. Once we look at the risk, and I hope that the Ministry of Health look from all areas, they are the export, but from where I stand as a teacher, I know that the physical distancing would be necessary. I also know that proper hygiene would be necessary. Buses need to be properly ventilated, keeping the windows open as well. All of these can help when it comes to the transportation system, and the Ministry of Education would have to play a pivotal role in getting reliable and appropriate transportation for students. Minister King said that transportation was provided. I'm aware of that also. And students, it is a challenge to get them to ride the designated buses. So that is something I believe parents would also have to look into, because we are all in this together, and as stakeholders, we must play our role when it comes to that.
The School for Children with Special Needs joined the rest of the world on Sunday in observing World Down Syndrome Day. This year's celebration was observed under the theme, "We Connect So That We Can." Counselor at the school, Charlene Azor, told SVG-TV News that amidst the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, the school was still able to celebrate the day and raise awareness about its importance virtually. We hear more in this report.
Counselor of the School for Children with Special Needs, Charlene Azor, described Down syndrome as a condition in which a child is born with an extra copy of their 21st chromosome, which causes physical and mental developmental delays and disabilities. She said that the significance of observing World Down Syndrome Day is to raise awareness about the condition.
They're normally short in stature, A girl would say like be approximately 4 feet 5 inches, roughly there's about. The boy might just be about 5 feet. Their eyes are a bit slanted. They have like stubby fingers. The fingers are short, really short, and there's when you look at the palm of your hand, you see like a letter M. They don't have that.
Amidst the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, Azor said the school was still able to celebrate the day through their Facebook page, having students showcasing their daily activities in a video format.
We did fun facts leading up to the day. We had we highlighted students who are Down syndrome, so we had like about 4 of them who we posted on our page. We posted pictures of them and just a little write-up about them, what they like to do and stuff like that. And we also had a short video of a past student who was preparing his own breakfast. So all of that can be found on our school's Facebook page, School for Children with Special Needs, Kingston.
Azor also noted that one of the most popular campaigns of World Down Syndrome Day globally was the wearing of mismatched socks with bright colors, which was a hit.
The socks, the pretty socks, and you see people rocking the socks, as you said, is just to bring awareness, because think of you walking down the street and you have on these really lovely socks and persons are looking at you. You stand out, you're different, and then persons, some of them who are brave enough will want to come and say, why are you wearing those socks? So then it gives you the opportunity to talk about the disability.
Despite their conditions, Azor said that some of these children can still work independently and are usually very affectionate. She encourages persons to view the school Facebook page to learn more about children with Down syndrome. For SVG-TV News, I am Nashika Hope.